Social stratification and inequality are central to understanding how societies organize people into hierarchies based on wealth, power, and prestige. This module delves into these systems, examining their impact on individual opportunities and global development patterns. Throughout this module, we'll explore how social inequality touches every aspect of our lives. We'll develop analytical tools to understand how inequality is created, maintained, and challenged across different dimensions of social life, including stratification systems, global patterns, race and ethnicity, and gender and sexuality. By the end of this module, you'll be equipped to critically analyze systems of inequality from multiple sociological perspectives. You'll learn to define and differentiate stratification systems, analyze social class dynamics, examine global inequality patterns, understand race as a social construction, and analyze gender and sexuality. Studying social stratification is crucial for personal relevance and social awareness. It helps you recognize how social forces influence individual outcomes and challenges the myth of purely individual success or failure. By understanding stratification, we can identify these patterns and explore ways to challenge or transform them. Social stratification is the fundamental structure of social inequality. It involves the systematic ranking of groups, perpetuating unequal access to resources, rewards, and privileges. This section will help us understand how these structured inequalities persist across generations. Social stratification refers to the hierarchical organization of societies, creating systemic inequality that persists across generations. It involves predictable patterns of advantage and disadvantage, emphasizing social categories rather than individual merit. Stratification occurs across three primary dimensions: wealth, power, and prestige. These dimensions often overlap, creating complex systems of advantage and disadvantage. Wealth involves assets minus debts, power is the ability to influence others, and prestige is the social honor or respect accorded to individuals or groups. Throughout history, societies have developed different systems for organizing social inequality, such as caste, estate, and class systems. Understanding these systems helps us recognize how contemporary stratification operates, with each system offering unique characteristics and limitations. Stratification systems vary in openness, affecting social mobility. Closed systems like caste emphasize ascribed status, while open systems like class allow achievement-based mobility. However, even open systems maintain barriers that influence life chances. Sociological theories offer explanations for why stratification exists and persists. Functionalist theory views stratification as necessary for society's smooth operation, while conflict theory sees it as a result of power groups protecting their advantages. Symbolic interactionism examines how people display status through interactions. Critics argue that the functionalist view overlooks how wealth and power are inherited rather than earned, fails to explain extreme inequality, and assumes agreement on what's important. Conflict theorists offer an alternative, suggesting stratification persists because it benefits those in power. In America, social class is often described as classless, yet research reveals a complex class structure with significant implications for life chances. From upper class to lower class, each tier reflects different levels of wealth, education, and opportunity. Sociologists use objective, subjective, and reputational measures to understand social class. These measures go beyond income or occupation, considering factors like education level, cultural values, and perceptions of one's position in society. The American dream suggests success through hard work, but social mobility is limited. Many remain in the same income quintile as their parents, challenging the myth of widespread upward mobility. This slide explores the realities of staying in the same quintile, being stuck at the bottom, or remaining at the top. Social mobility is hindered by structural obstacles like educational inequality, social capital, cultural norms, and wealth gaps. Intersecting inequalities further complicate mobility, with race, gender, and geographic location playing significant roles in limiting opportunities. Social class shapes life chances, influencing health, educational attainment, and interactions with the criminal justice system. Higher classes enjoy better health and education, while lower classes face greater challenges, highlighting disparities that persist throughout life. Global inequality involves understanding stratification on a worldwide scale. This section explores how wealth and resources are distributed globally, with significant disparities between nations affecting development and opportunities. Global inequality is dramatic, with wealth concentrated in the global north, while the global south faces poverty and limited development. This slide highlights the stark differences in wealth concentration, extreme wealth, and extreme poverty across the world. Global inequality manifests in health, education, and life expectancy disparities. These differences reflect not just economic gaps, but systematically different life chances based on country of birth, with profound implications for development and opportunity. Sociologists offer theories explaining global inequality, such as modernization theory, dependency theory, and world systems theory. Each theory reflects different assumptions about development, power, and global relations, providing insights into why inequality persists globally. Modernization theory suggests that all societies follow a similar path to development, culminating in Western industrial capitalism. However, this perspective is critiqued for ignoring alternative development paths and dismissing the role of colonialism in creating inequalities. Historical evidence shows that many nations have developed successfully without adhering to this model, challenging its assumptions and highlighting its limitations. World systems theory offers a comprehensive framework for understanding global inequality by examining the interconnected global economy. It categorizes nations into core, semi-peripheral, and peripheral, each playing distinct roles in the global economic system. Core nations dominate trade and extract wealth, while peripheral nations often rely on exporting raw materials, highlighting the systemic nature of global inequality. To address global poverty, it's crucial to understand its causes and consequences. Structural causes like colonial history and unfair trade relationships contribute to persistent challenges. Development efforts have seen some success, but ongoing challenges like climate change and political instability continue to hinder progress, emphasizing the need for effective strategies. Exploring racial and ethnic inequality requires understanding these concepts within their social context. This section delves into how race and ethnicity are constructed and the real-world implications of these social identities. Race is often perceived as a biological category, but sociologists argue it's socially constructed, with significant real-world consequences. Genetic variation within racial groups is greater than between them, and racial classifications vary across societies and historical periods. Understanding race as socially constructed helps us see how inequality is created and maintained through social processes. Ethnicity is rooted in shared cultural characteristics, such as language and traditions, distinguishing groups from one another. Unlike race, ethnicity focuses on cultural identity and heritage, allowing individuals to identify with multiple ethnic backgrounds, emphasizing the diverse aspects of identity in different contexts. Understanding racial inequality involves distinguishing between prejudice, discrimination, and racism. Prejudice is learned through socialization, while discrimination involves unequal treatment based on race or ethnicity. Racism combines prejudiced attitudes with institutional power, maintaining racial inequality through systemic structures. Racism manifests in various forms, including individual, institutional, and structural. Individual racism involves personal prejudiced beliefs, while institutional racism is embedded in policies and practices that disadvantage racial groups. Structural racism accumulates effects across institutions, creating systemic racial disadvantages that persist over generations. Societies exhibit different interaction patterns between dominant and minority groups, such as assimilation, pluralism, segregation, and genocide. These patterns reflect power dynamics and have profound consequences for social integration and inequality, shaping the experiences of minority groups within society. Despite legal prohibitions, racial inequality persists in American institutions like education, employment, and healthcare. Disparities in school funding, wage gaps, and healthcare access reveal how inequality is maintained through policies and practices, affecting minority groups disproportionately. The wealth gap between racial groups highlights economic disparities rooted in historical injustices. Segregation, discrimination, and limited access to resources have prevented minority wealth accumulation, perpetuating inequality. Understanding these disparities is crucial for addressing systemic barriers to economic advancement. This section explores gender as a social system and examines sexuality, highlighting the complexities and societal implications of these identities. Understanding gender and sexuality is key to addressing inequality and fostering inclusivity. Sex and gender are distinct concepts, with sex based on biological characteristics and gender shaped by social and cultural expectations. Recognizing this distinction is crucial for understanding how gender roles and identities are constructed and how they impact individuals and society. Gender is a complex social system that organizes society and shapes identities. From early socialization to institutional reinforcement, gender norms influence behavior and expectations. Understanding gender as socially constructed reveals how inequality is perpetuated and offers insights into achieving gender equality. Society develops expectations for behavior and roles based on gender, with real consequences for those who conform or deviate. Masculine and feminine expectations shape identities and experiences, and violations of these norms can lead to social sanctions, highlighting the power of gender norms in society. Despite increased workforce participation, gender inequality persists in employment and advancement. Wage gaps, management disparities, and the scarcity of female CEOs reflect both overt discrimination and structural barriers, underscoring the need for systemic change to achieve workplace equality. The gender pay gap is influenced by factors like occupational segregation, discrimination, and negotiation barriers. Women face unique challenges, such as the motherhood penalty, which affects career advancement and earnings, highlighting the need for addressing gendered assumptions in the workplace. Gender inequality extends into family life, affecting division of labor and decision-making. Women often bear the brunt of emotional labor and the second shift, creating stress and limiting career advancement. Addressing these dynamics is essential for achieving gender equality in both family and professional settings. Women remain underrepresented in political office, facing barriers like fundraising challenges and media scrutiny. This underrepresentation affects policy priorities and the symbolic importance of equal participation, emphasizing the need for increased support and opportunities for women in politics. Gender-based violence is a severe form of inequality affecting women across all social classes and races. It reflects and maintains gender inequality, with cultures that devalue women contributing to its prevalence. Addressing both individual acts and the social context is crucial for combating this pervasive issue. Sexuality is not just a biological drive, it's a social phenomenon influenced by culture, institutions, and history. It varies across societies and evolves over time. We delve into how social constructs, identity formation, and diverse expressions shape our understanding of sexuality. Sexual orientation encompasses enduring patterns of romantic and sexual attraction. Modern perspectives view it as a spectrum rather than fixed categories. We explore heterosexuality, homosexuality, bisexuality, and other identities, highlighting the fluidity and diversity within sexual orientation. Heteronormativity assumes heterosexuality as the norm, influencing social structures and everyday interactions. This bias marginalizes LGBTQ+ individuals, evident in institutional policies and societal attitudes. We discuss the consequences and challenges faced by those outside this norm. Attitudes toward LGBTQ+ rights have shifted significantly over recent decades, with generational and regional variations. Legal changes, like the 2015 Supreme Court decision, reflect progress, yet ongoing challenges persist, particularly in employment and healthcare for transgender individuals. Intersectionality highlights how various forms of inequality intersect, creating unique experiences. We explore key principles and examples, such as the specific challenges faced by Black women, to understand how overlapping identities shape distinct forms of inequality. Privilege often operates invisibly, providing advantages based on race, gender, and class. We examine white, male, class, and heterosexual privilege, understanding how these benefits manifest and contribute to systemic inequality. Social mobility is hindered not by individual failings, but by structural barriers that disadvantage certain groups. We explore inherited advantages, institutional barriers, cultural capital, social networks, and cumulative disadvantages that perpetuate inequality. Social change is possible through movements, policy interventions, and education. Historical movements have challenged inequality, leading to significant transformations. We discuss how legal protections and awareness can drive progress toward a more equitable society. Social stratification is systematic, with multiple intersecting dimensions. Race, gender, and sexuality are socially constructed, influencing privilege and disadvantage. Inequality is global, yet change is possible through collective action and policy shifts. As you move forward, apply your understanding of social stratification and inequality through critical analysis, engage citizenship, and personal reflection. Evaluate policies, consider the impact of privilege, and reflect on your role in addressing social issues.